not accept this shit. No, I want my woman back.
We living a life of crime, lies, deceit, disloyalty. Fake niggas fucked up the streets with all this poison. Anything pop off, motherfuckers recording it. Broke bitches choicing. Damn, my mama warned me. Damn, I should've listened.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're here to decide the case of the state of Georgia versus EligioBiship. EligioBiship, we started this case a few days ago, last week sometimes, and we're here finally at the conclusion of the case. And so just like across this courthouse, across this city, there are jurors sitting to decide issues, whether it's an issue regarding a fence line, or whether it's about probate, or whether it was a car accident. Your job in this case is to determine whether the state wins or whether Mr. Bishop wins. And it's an important, bless you, it's an important decision for you to make. That's why when you come in the courtroom, we stand up. Because despite the fact that Judge Hodrick is Superior Court judge, and these are two very fine, smart lawyers here, we stand up because you are the most powerful people in this courthouse. Your decision impacts people that are in this county and in this city. And so we're going to ask, as you go back to deliberate and you consider this case, that you use your power and wield your power appropriately. Now, last week, we were here, you guys were out there, you were in a big group of folks, and you heard the judge read an indictment. And in that indictment, the very first charge was the charge of rape. And so I do this for a living. I'm a defense attorney, okay? I sit over there with people and I look up at the people that are there to decide. And the question that happens in my mind is, what exactly are they thinking when they hear the word rape or murder or something significant like that? Because many times we've already made decisions about people. We've already made a decision. You're charged with it, good enough for me. And so there it goes. The case is gone. You're already starting from behind. And that's why when we asked if you felt like you could be fair and impartial in the case, you felt like you would be able to look at the evidence and not make it a decision just based on the fact that there was a camera in here and that he was charged with this charge. And so the state questioned you, I question you, and we believe that you guys were the best group out of the people that were here. You were the best, that you would be fair and impartial, that you would listen to all the evidence, that you wouldn't make a decision before all the evidence was closed. And so that's why you're here on the jury, because we didn't believe you were going to go on a witch hunt, that you were going to make a decision just because Mr. Bishop was charged with the charge of rape. And I put rape up there because obviously it's the most significant of the charges that we have here. Now, in a case, there's a couple types of evidence. There's direct and circumstantial evidence. The judge was going to give you some instructions on the law, but direct and circumstantial evidence, there's two types. There's direct evidence, means that you have proof of something tangible right in front of you. And then there's circumstantial evidence. She will explain the difference in both of the two. Now, there's no legal difference in which of them you can have a conviction on direct evidence or on circumstantial evidence, but I would argue that this is a circumstantial evidence case. Now, the judge is also going to tell you, though, that for a circumstantial evidence case, the state must exclude every other reasonable theory other than the guilt of the defendant. That means that the state has a burden not only to prove the defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but they must exclude every other reasonable theory of innocence. And I'm questioning for you is, has the state in this case proven or that every other reasonable theory of innocence is not true? They have not. They have not. Now, credibility of witnesses, I'm going to skip through because the state gets up. They're the government. They can get up and start. I jump in the middle, and then they get to come back and tell you how I'm wrong. And so I only have so much time, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on every single piece of it, because the credibility of witnesses section, you're going to get from the judge. Okay? But you can consider credibility of witnesses. And what I like to use for credibility of witnesses is, I have two children, Hannah and Justin. They're my children. 16 and 10, they're most important. If you show up at my house and you say, well, you're going to be the caregiver of my children, okay? And you tell me one day that I did this is my background experience. And then the next day you say, you come in and you tell me something different, you're not keeping my kids, because I can't trust what you say. Trusting what you say means you tell me something on Monday, when you come back on Tuesday, it's the same thing. And so I'm asking, when you look at the credibility that you have been given from that witness stand, It's not what I said. It's not what the state said. It's not what the judge said. The credibility comes from the witnesses. Have you been satisfied that Miss Newell, as she got up there, that you're satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that you can trust what she's saying? That's what you have to determine. Now, presumed innocent. Defendant is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So simple, not a complicated thing. I'll use the same example I had when I was in law school. Professor comes in on the first day of school of the class, criminal law 101. I am scared to death. There's 150 other students in here. 149 of them are way smarter than I am, and they should be there, and I should. That's exactly what I'm sitting there thinking. And the professor goes up front, I'm praying to God, please don't let him ask me anything. But he gets up there and he says, ladies and gentlemen, this is a presumption of innocence. He's wearing a jacket. And he simply just makes this really weird argument, but it's actually true. Person comes in, they're presumed innocent. This is the cloak of innocence. Until the state has removed this entire jacket all the way off the person, they remain innocent until the state has proven them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Mr. Bishop is still wearing the jacket. The state has not removed the jacket. When you look at this case and you go in the back, Mr. Bishop is still wearing his jacket because the state has not met their burden. They are the government. They're the ones who had access to these phones. They're the one who had access to all hundreds of thousands of videos. When you look at the evidence in this case, when you consider the evidence in this case, this is what we have as far as evidence. We have a case that's a rape case where these people were online every single day for years. Don't you think that if people were online every single day for years, they're on social media, they're on YouTube, they're on Facebook, and there's not one picture, not one single picture of a woman with a physical injury, not one video of somebody being slapped, but they're telling it because they want you to believe it. They've given it to you. You are the deciders in this case. If they got it, why don't they show it to you? Because they don't have it. It doesn't exist. They want you, he gets up here and tells you, oh, it's not because he's in the cult. They're so interested because it's not because he's in the cult. He's in the cult. The entire case has been about anything other than March 24, 2022. We've had 3 other girls come in here and tell us that he supposedly raped them because they don't want you to look at the case. They want you to look at other things. Look at other things because if you look at those other things and you don't like them, you're going to convict them. That's the whole objective. Now, he's presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the state's burden. No person shall be convicted of any crime unless and until every element of the crime is proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and the burden rests upon the state to prove every material allegation. And I'll go through the same way they did because I have to cover the argument and the law, but I'll go through the elements. But long story short, they have to prove the elements of rape. That's what they have to prove. They have to prove the elements of false imprisonment. They have to prove the elements of revenge porn. And we'll go through that. Now, before I was an attorney, this is my 14th year as an attorney. I was a school teacher for 7 years. I have a bachelor's and master's in education from the University of Florida. And so when I was a teacher, I loved it. It was great. But there would be afternoons at 2 o'clock when you got a bunch of 4th graders standing in front of you in Gwinnett County. You didn't know why you did it, but you loved it. They were very special children, nothing more unique and more powerful than kids in my mind. But one of the things I would ask the kids at the first beginning of school is, what's the most important ingredient in chocolate cake? I bet you don't know what the most important ingredient in chocolate cake is. It's chocolate. You can't have chocolate cake without chocolate. Unfortunately, kids will spend a lot of time bubbling around and say, cake mix, whatever. In this case, there is no important ingredient. The state must prove every single element of rape to you beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, the burden of proof is on the state. It never switches to us. It's not on Mr. Bishop. Okay, it's not on Mr. Booker, it's on the state. They brought this case, they charged it. Please don't lighten their burden. They must prove that he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And the judge will tell you that after considering if your minds are wavering, unsettled, then that is a doubt of the law. Use your common sense in this case and acquit Mr. Bishop. Now, prior statements, the judge is also going to read you instruction about prior statements. If a person is given a prior statement and they give a different statement later, you can consider that for purposes of credibility of a witness. Now, jumping to the point. She says she's at the house on March 24th or March 25th, 2022. That's what she told you. That's uncontroverted. She says that she meets with the DeKalb officer, Hugh, I believe. I keep forgetting how to pronounce his name. And she also does an interview with the T. You've heard a lot about the T. I'm sure the T is going to be super popular after this. They're actually here in the courtroom today. She meets with the detectives, and she's interviewed in Fayetteville. They go out there. She gets pregnant months later by this guy, Courtney Townsend. And then she's interviewed by the DA's office here in this year, in February. And then she gives you testimony in court. And so I want to run through those real quick. So the first one is the first prior recorded statement of with this officer. She called police and she told police that this was revenge porn. This again goes back to credibility. It goes back to credibility. The first thing she told them was, hey, there was revenge porn that happened to me. This was on March 30th, 2022. She never said anything about it. Okay? Never said that. And in that interview that was recorded on body camera by the investigator, by the police officer, the state has not played that one single time. What is in that interview that you don't need to see? Why is that not played? Again, it's not Mr. Booker's burden to play any of the investigators for you. Why haven't they played it? When they get up here to close, when Ms. Thomas gets up, ask her why. Why hasn't the state played that evidence for you? The 20 minutes, because he was up here, the witness was up here, they could have put it in for him. Why didn't they play that? Again, it's sometimes evidence and sometimes it's lack of evidence. But the first statement that she gave was that she'd been a victim of revenge porn. She described Mr. Bishop as her boyfriend, and she was interviewed on body cam. Doesn't describe rape, doesn't describe fighting, doesn't describe false imprisonment, none of those things. She described. Second time is the T interview. She goes on YouTube. There's a 6-hour-long interview on YouTube. 6 hours long. I can't talk to anybody for 6 hours. I love my wife. We go to Florida to visit my mom sometimes. She lives in Jacksonville. Takes us 5.5 hours to get there. We don't drive in the electric car, which takes way too long. But we get there. My wife may say something to me between here and Valdosta, or Macon rather. She may say something else a little further on. We've been married for 24 years. Nobody talked for 6 hours about anything. But they talk for 6 hours about Mr. Bishop. None of that's played though. And when I'm trying to introduce it in evidence, obviously they don't want you guys to hear it. But she indicated in court that she was being truthful in this interview, is what she said. Now, what she also told you was, well, I was still under the influence. In 2022, I was trying to protect him, is what I was doing. You can't be one or the other, okay? Or you have to take one or the other. But think about this. If she was trying to protect him in 2022, and then she was still under the influence of the cult, why is it in 2024, when the DA's office interviews her and she's preparing for this trial, why in the world does she say to them that he said to me, can you do it one last time? And what her response was, okay. That's what she told them. Ask them why they haven't told you that. Because would she still be under the influence in 2024? I wouldn't think so. Because she wasn't under the influence then, she was being truthful. She describes in detail what she doesn't describe a rape. She doesn't describe being fearful of being falsely imprisoned or any of those things. Again, this is still the interview. These are some of the statements she made. Baba G, how you pronounce that, which was Eligio, would have never treated me this way. You bitches are jealous. Excuse my language, mom. But that's what she said. Uncontroverted. She looked Eligio in the eyes, and me being dumb, I got manipulated back in. I couldn't resist him in that moment. Not that he beat me or I was scared that some woman was going to do something to me. That wasn't said. Never was said. I was really vulnerable. And he knew exactly what to say to make me stay. And we made love in that moment. Those are her words. It's uncontroverted. That's what she said. But maybe she was under the influence. That's what the state wants you to believe, that she was under the influence of Mr. Bishop. He was so powerful. I wanted dick in that moment. That is so crass to say, but I'm sorry. I wanted dick in that moment, but I was stupid, and what I really needed was love. Uncontroverted, that's what she said. If she didn't say it, the state would have put it in and said, hey, do you remember Mr. Booker asked you this? Did you really say it? No, I didn't say it. But they haven't shown you that. And is that how somebody describes when they're being raped? No, it's not. More on the TV interview. I didn't want to resist him. Letting him manipulate me, I'm a sucker for fucking love. I felt like he was faking it to just keep me. Why in the world would he be faking it? You're faking being with somebody, yet you're raping that person? That doesn't make any sense. Then she gives an interview with the detectives. They played Mr. Bishop's interview for you, but why didn't they play Mr. Why didn't they play that for you? What did she say to the detectives? The same detectives that was up here. She interviewed with them too. That's because she describes making love throughout the interview. She never uses the word rape. It's not until 20-something minutes into the interview that he asked her, well, maybe, would you really want to do it? It's not a discussion about rape. The detective introduces that idea to her mind. But the detective who was even there wasn't even called as a witness. They had two detectives there, a male and a female. But they put the female up. And you can tell how prepared she was. She didn't even know what she'd done as far as an investigation. Did you see when you ask her a simple question? Well, did you get this text message from such and such? Wouldn't you expect that people who are police officers, when they are making life-altering decisions for people in this case, in this state that we live in this county, they are responsible for it. They're making life-altering decisions, life-altering investigations that they can't even remember when you pick up the text message here. These emails here that she had, that she's emailing with the T, that she wouldn't know that the messages came from the T. Oh, I got it from Kelly Johnson's phone. Oh, no, I got it from the Terry's phone. No, you didn't. And you're up here under oath. Wouldn't you be more prepared to know what you did and what you didn't? I mean, it's a life-altering decision for Mr. Bishop. And despite whether you like Mr. Bishop or not, okay, because obviously there's apparently people that don't. And I really don't care if you like him or not. I don't have to like him. None of us have to like him. It doesn't matter. This is about the law and whether or not the state has proven him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a character assassination ultimately, but that's not what you're here to decide. Trial preparation, meeting with the DA's office this year. Now, this one, surely she's going to use the word rape. She has to. I mean, of course, she's not going to come in here and not use the word rape. She's not going to say that, avoid it here, because then she's going to be in front of the whole world. She's in front of you guys. She's caused all that to happen. She's not going to say something different here. But in trial preparation, one last time and okay. Really? One last time? Okay. I don't think so. That's not rape. And nothing with them about force. Hey, I said okay because I knew he was going to beat the crap out of me if I didn't have sex. I had seen him beat up a bunch of women because they didn't have sex with him. That's not what she said. That's not the evidence in the case. That's what the state wants you to think, but they produce zero evidence of it. Please be from Missouri. Be from the show me state. Make them show you evidence. Don't just go back there and be okie doke because they told you, or because you don't like Mr. Bishop, or because the camera's here. Make them show you evidence. So, what actually happened? There was a disagreement in the group between the girls. You heard that. She described that she went upstairs at least twice. You don't really even get to compare her statements, all because you don't have her statements in evidence. You don't really know what she previously said other than what I got to ask her because we couldn't play it for you. And they didn't want to play it for you. But consider all that. This is what she ultimately said. She went upstairs at least twice. When she went upstairs the first time, Malia, who's the queen, told her to go downstairs. Because that's really what this case is really about anyway. And she admitted, hey, I want to be the queen. I want to be the queen. Too many women. My mom used to tell me that my middle name is Lamar. Lamar, you have one girlfriend. My dad would say the same thing. One girlfriend. It is hard enough to keep one woman, and I mean this in the nicest way, satisfied. I've been married to my wife. My wife's from Jamaica. Been married to her for 24 years. She is a wonderful woman. But I can tell you, I couldn't have even another half. I have two other people in the house that are women too. A 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. It's hard enough for me when it's enough estrogen in the house with me that sometimes I need to go sit on the back. Because it's just all too much. It's too much drama. I go here. Oh, here comes somebody. I go there. It's so much drama. This dude has all these women around that he's having sex with. There's going to be some problems. But she admitted on the stand that she wanted to be the queen because she could show them how it's done. She could do it better than Malia. There was a pageant. The lady told her this day. There was some sort of pageant. And that Ms. Newell said, Elijah said that she could be queen. So this further upset her. And she ultimately goes outside. She wants to be the queen. They say, hey, Baba G, God, whatever the world they call them. Hey, he wants you to come back inside. And she does. Isn't that what you do, that you go outside when you're trying to get away from somebody? You know, in the movies, when you go this weekend, you can talk about the case, and this case is finally over. Okay? And you're watching a scary movie. Okay, some scary movie watching on Amazon or whatever. And the girl goes to the door. She's running through the woods. The bad dude, is running behind her. Do you think she's gonna stop? Because she's seen this before. He's coming with a chainsaw. He's got a mask on, or whatever it may be. He's scared. Okay, is she gonna stop and call an Uber? Hey Uber, can you please come pick me up? Because I'm scared to death this dude is gonna get me. It's not like I can just walk out and leave if I'm so scared. It's not like I can leave. Because would you wait for an Uber if you were afraid of somebody? I wouldn't. And what I wouldn't do, I wouldn't wait for an Uber, but what I also wouldn't do is get all the way outside to the Uber and say, oh, I'm going to go back inside. And go all the way back upstairs. I wouldn't do that because I'd be too scared. Because I've seen a whole history of violence. That's what they told you. It's been a whole history of violence. So, but no, I'm outside. I got my bag packed. I can get the heck away from this dude. But oh yeah, let me go back inside and say goodbye. It's fine. I'm gonna just go back inside and say goodbye because it's all good. Just use your common sense, ladies and gentlemen. She wants to be with him. It's evidence, which is also uncontroverted. The state is putting in nothing to show that this phone call right here, that there's no prior phone calls to. State's Exhibit 2. That you heard from Miss Eva Wilson, that she called EligioBishop after March 24th, 2022. Said, hey, Mr. Bishop, she wants to be with you again. She wants you to get in contact with her. This is uncontroverted. If it wasn't his phone number, don't you think these really good and really smart lawyers would have told you, hey, that's not Mr. Bishop's phone number? But they didn't tell you that. That's because this lady contacted her. She has no reason to come in here and lie. She is here on Zoom because she came here the other day and we couldn't finish. But she has no reason to lie. She don't know Bishop. She don't know this lady that well. She knows because she came and stayed in her house. But if she had a bone to pick with her, why would she allow her to stay in her house, read tarot cards or whatever that stuff is to her, and then come in here and lie against her? She doesn't have a motive. The state hasn't proven she has a motive. The state hasn't proven that she's lied. That's uncontroverted that lady called Bishop on behalf of Miss Newell. If somebody raped you, why in the world would you be calling? Why would you call and say, hey, I want to be with you again? Now, the text messages. The detectives already said these text messages came from a certain location that we know is not true. Not going to spend a lot of time on that. Text messages came from the T. Okay, you heard that the T doesn't particularly like Mr. Bishop. How did the T even get the text messages? Why would they have the text messages? I don't know. It wasn't until I was sitting at home one day and I decided, let me look at these text messages again. And I looked at the very top and I remember the young lady saying, that it was a long time between messages. But these say 11:51, 11:51, 11:51, 11:52, 11:53. That's not a long time. That's like 2 minutes. So I thought, well, how could that be? And then I looked at the time here, that's like 12:58 a.m. That didn't make any sense. So somebody must have taken pictures of the text messages and they sent it to the T. And then I started looking and I said, that seems odd. Why would the T have text messages? And here's an email chain between the detective that testified and the T. Hey, by the way, here's some text messages from the T for Mr. Bishop. You can get him. It proves your case. Oh, by the way, here's some videos from the T. It proves your case. Please consider all that. Why didn't Kelly Johnson just tell the truth that she gave in the text messages? I mean, is that credibility? Is that an issue? What else was in their phone? I mean, was there more messages in the phone? We'll never know. The state never showed it. We don't have that. The detective interviewed you. Again, did they really go out? 2 detectives go all the way out to Fayetteville because they believed that this was just revenge porn? Because that's all she had reported at this point was revenge porn. She hadn't said anything about rape. The 2 detectives leave here in DeKalb County, go out to Fayetteville. They were there for what they believed was more. They were after EligioBishop. And so at that point, he suggested her that, hey, maybe he raped you. But you'll never get to hear that because we can't play that for you. Now, they did a search warrant at the residence. They searched 11 devices. What did those 11 devices show? You know from me asking the detective that there were hundreds of thousands of photos and videos. you know that the subpoena power of the court, that these lawyers right here, who are very, very good lawyers, who work for an extremely good district attorney's office. This is one of the best prosecuting offices in the entire state, not just the city. That they know how to get videos from YouTube, videos from Instagram, evidence off these phones. If there was a single video that existed, they would have got it and showed it to you. Where is it at? Ask her when she gets up, because she's about to get up in a minute, and she's going to say, Mr. Booker, he told you a lot of wrong things. I'm going to correct it. And I respect it. She's a very good lawyer. I've known her for a long time. She's going to do her job. But I'm not wrong, because they don't have it over there in that pile of evidence. And it's not for you to consider. Why is it not for you to consider? We don't know what the devices show. They did a search warrant for physical evidence in the house. And the detective said that she told the crime scene folks what to check for and what not. And then Ms. Thomas got up and said, well, you know, you would expect his DNA to be on the bed. Okay, great. But I mean, if there was a rape took place or there was some physical evidence, why didn't they even check it? We got the GBI crime lab to determine if something like that happened. They didn't do that. Mr. Bishop's interview, he invited the police to go through his phone. He gave them the code to his phone. He described why she would be upset. You don't have any evidence that contradicts what he said. The phone that they had, they didn't even look at it. He gave them the passcode to all 11 devices. If there was something bad in there, where do you have it? I generally have not given people the ability to check my phone. Now that I have something bad on, I don't want people looking through everything I got. He was very concerned that they were going to set him up. There were 10 people in the house. Why didn't they search and interview those people? You've heard from some of them today. And they tried to contradict, oh, this is the first time you've ever told anybody about this. You know, look at you, young lady. You've never told anybody about this. But the fact is, nobody's ever asked. They've never called him and said, hey, by the way, what was your position on this? The police have never interviewed him. So Ms. Wade and Ms. Buckner were neither weren't interviewed. Who was in fact interviewed? Because they said they interviewed 4 people. Who was the 4 people that interviewed? Where's that evidence at? The detective said we interviewed 2 guys and 2 girls. Where's that at? Who was it? We don't know. What'd they learn from it? I don't know. I mentioned you should be from Missouri. I know we're all Georgians. I was originally born in Mississippi. I lived in Florida for a few years. Never got the pleasure of living in Missouri, but I love when I see that plate, the show me state. There's a bunch of stories of what that really means. I won't waste your time on what that show me state means. But for me, I need you to not be from Georgia today. I need you to be from, unless you like a football team, but Missouri's football team kind of sucks, but they're pretty good this year. But be from the show me state. Make them show you the evidence. Make them prove it. They haven't proved it to you. Make them prove the evidence. Now, we have the allegations of revenge porn. I'm almost done. There were 3 porn videos shown. What dates were these videos posted? And were they posted and taken down? If you recall, Ms. Newell said that she consented to them being posted at a given time. These videos were posted, reposted, taken down. I don't know, but have they shown it to you? I'm not the smartest person in the world, but typically if I had porn from my wife, which we don't, but if I did, on my phone and I posted it to social media, wouldn't it be on my phone? Wouldn't it be among those 11 devices that they said, oops, Mr. Bishop, we got you. Here it is on your phone that you just gave us a passcode to. It shows that you posted it to Twitter on this given day. That you in fact did, because it was your device, you had it. They didn't do that. Or did they get a search warrant from Twitter to say, hey, Twitter, what MAC address, what IP address, what location? Because this really good lawyer here, he talked about something called venue. Venue means that it happened within the county of DeKalb. So let's assume you do believe that Mr. Bishop posted revenge porn. Well, what evidence do you have that he was within the county of DeKalb when he did it? How do you know, if he did it, that he wasn't just making a loop around 285, going to see all these girls or to do all this fake ideology that he's got? Because what people say he's a fake. And he posted it in Cobb County. Well, we don't have evidence of where it was posted. How about it could have been done in Gwinnett County? We still don't have evidence because venue is the area where it actually happened. What evidence do you have? And I'm not advising you guys to go back in there and watch the videos because I did my best to eye bounce to not look at those disgusting videos. But I can tell you that when you look at the videos, if you have to look at them in the back, take a look and see if they've proven to you where they were posted at, what county. Because Twitter would have been able to tell you and the device would have told you. Now, allegations of physical violence. I'm going to run through this as quickly as I can. But logically, if there was evidence of physical violence, they would have shown it to you. They told you that she was beat up. They told you, she told you, she was body slammed. I mean, could you imagine being in a park with 15 people around you and you're being body slammed and kicked and punched that nobody ever noticed it? That these people, they were live on social media every single day, and the state did not go and get that evidence and say, see, here's the girl with the black eye. Here's the girl with the busted lip. Here's the girl with the busted nose. That all those videos that were posted, they would have done it. They didn't do that because it doesn't exist. And then the crime scene, obviously, there were no physical findings at the crime scene. They just want you to assume she said he raped me. He says he doesn't. You go with her because we have an expert that came in, Rick Ross, who tells you, well, he's in a cult and all those things. Because I wonder, you know, he said that there's a line of people there. There's a lot of people that's really interested in this case because he's a cult leader, okay? He's a cult leader, and that's what it is. But we're worried about this. Well, if that was the case, why y'all call Rick Ross to the stand? What was the purpose of calling him? I mean, to me, he came to talk about cults. So if it really wasn't about that, then why'd y'all call him as a witness? I think you should ask her that when she gets up here. Why would you call Rick Ross as a witness if it's just about what happened on that day? Because it's not about just what happened on the day. The state wants you to look at everything else other than March 24th, 2022. When I got up here and opened the statements, I asked you to look at that date and focus on that date. It has been so hard to sit over there and listen to everything other than March 24th, 2022. But that's all you have to decide. That's all you have to consider in this case. All right, physical evidence, there's no blood, there's no semen, there's no used condoms, the sheets, bedspreads, video evidence of physical abuse, photo evidence of it, phone messaging, threatening violence, hundreds of thousands of videos. Again, that stuff just doesn't exist. State wants you to look at other things. They want you to look at Breonna Jacobs. Breonna Jacobs said, hey, you know, he sodomized me, there was blood. But did you notice that Velvet Marquez did not tell the same story, and no other women have said anything about that at all? State doesn't want you to look at March 24, 2022. Kendra Carter, what supported her testimony? Velvet Marquez. It's so crazy they come in and say, we couldn't even use the bathroom. And we've studied this guy for all this time. Well, we couldn't use the bathroom. I mean, that's not really the right thing to say because you could use the bathroom. You the one chose to go to Costa Rica or Puerto Rico or whatever and go use the bathroom outside. That's your choice. And then you come in here because you just want to throw them under the bus. Oh, we can't use the bathroom outside. Oh, we couldn't even leave. You couldn't leave, but your dad comes down there and visits you 3 times in 1 year, and you left frequently. Don't look at March 24th. Portia Wade was one of the 2 young ladies here. She's known him for 6 years. She's never seen any physical violence perpetrated by him. She said that the crazy behavior online was for the wow factor. She was in the room when Bishop came in first, so that he wasn't pulling her in. They asked to be alone, and she spoke to Newell afterwards in the bathroom. Kayla Butler was the other young lady here. That's the one that you saw a picture of her and her mother here. She also has known the defendant for 6 years. Obviously, she had pictures with her mom, so her mom was around. She's never seen physical violence perpetrated. She was even friends with Miss Newell. Tell me what you can find in her testimony that was not believable. She described the specifics of Bishop and Newell being affectionate at the top of the stairs. She fell in his arms. She cried. Ms. Newell describes the same thing in her interview, that she cried in his arms. And that she got the impression that she just wanted some attention, and she got that. Because she's like, ooh, girl, when she saw her. I can't do it quite as good as she did, but that's what she said. And she told Bishop would never treat me like this when they were fighting over a cell phone charger. So Rick Ross was the expert. He's the guy who got up here. And I'm not trying to minimize a high school diploma because I told you I was born in Mississippi. I come from a father who was in the United States Army. My dad He never had his high school diploma. He got his GED in the Army. But he came from a family of people that was something maybe you guys have never heard called sharecroppers. My grandfather was a sharecropper. And so my dad didn't have an opportunity to go all the way through high school because he had to go work for his family. They had to pick cotton. That's what was something they did in Mississippi, and raise crops. So to minimize Mr. Ross as an expert because he has a high school diploma and no further education, I'm not saying that he's not intelligent, because my dad is the most intelligent person that I've known, and he had no high school diploma. He got a GED. But Mr. Rick Ross is here to be an expert for you. And I know many of you guys are extremely bright, having high degrees and very extensive jobs. Think about what power he had as an expert, what he actually told you that was of relevance. Because if they didn't make it about a cult, why was he even up there? Wheel of power, domestic violence. Again, this case is not about domestic violence. And that she was forced to have sex because she was afraid of physical abuse. Again, there's been no evidence of physical abuse. Witness in peace, the judge will explain what that means, but has given multiple statements. That's called witness impeached. And ask the state to play those statements for you. See what she recalls. All right. What's most valuable to you? Your family, your home, your health, money. When you consider this case, the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that EligioBiship is guilty in this case. Well, for this case, what's most important to me is EligioBiship. He is the most important thing to me because he is my responsibility in this case. My job is to zealously defend. You think of the judge with two arms. The defendant's job is to zealously defend. That's my job. I'm an officer of the court. So Judge Hydrick is a wonderful and brilliant judge. I'm a right arm or a left arm, whichever one she wants me to be. And these two lawyers, they're the other side. Their job is to seek justice. My job is to zealously defend. So if I've said something during the trial that you don't like, I apologize. I'm doing my job. That's my obligation to my client. Okay? So don't hold it against my client if I argue too vehemently with a witness or you didn't like something I said. Please consider the case based on the evidence, not how you feel about me or whomever. But in this case, would you tie your health, your money, your family, your children, whatever it is most important to you, will you tie it to the evidence in this case? I would. Mr. Bishop is your most valuable asset in this case. What you're not to decide this case on is sympathy for EligioBishop. It has nothing to do with sympathy and not anything about EligioBishop and his teachings. Okay? Not about EligioBishop's teachings. The state will tell you that. It's not about that. Even though that seems so intertwined in this case, we can't get away from it. This is what you are to consider it on, and just to look at a couple of them. Conflicts in the testimonial evidence, missing or questionable evidence. Use your common sense and reasoning. Medical reports we don't have. There's no science in this case. Use the testimonial evidence that you have. Things to ponder. I'm almost done. If the defendant was such a physical threat, what evidence of there does that exist? And if there were allegations by of him being physically violent, there would have been some evidence before now. Wade testified that she posted a video with her and the others and for sex education. That's for you to consider. Did she testify that Bishop had her to do this? No, she didn't. And if the state had video of Mr. Bishop somehow making these witnesses testify in some way as they tried to solicit from them, they would have played there for you. They don't have that. March 24, 2022 is really what this case is about. And I know I say I'm almost done a lot. I really am almost done. This text message, I think, is a really telling text message. This is the one that says, why ask them for a ride? They're not going to take me. We know there were two cars there, but who is they? When I asked her who was they, she said, I need to go use the bathroom. Why does she need to go use the bathroom? Maybe she needed to come up with an answer for what that they pronoun meant for her. I don't know. But I couldn't imagine that I'm in a house where I've been a victim of physical abuse, violent abuse for so long. And the person that can get me out of here, and I asked the people who are the same folks I'm so afraid of, can you please go drop me off? That doesn't make any sense. Look at the text messages. Now, in Walmart, I worked in Walmart for a while, really cool place, Home Depot too. There's a big customer service place at the front. And if you go to Walmart and you buy a hammer you don't like, you buy some shoes you don't like, you buy some bacon you don't like, you can always take it back. Okay? Because there's somebody there that will take back things that you don't want. Okay? We don't have anybody to correct if you make a mistake in this case. That's why I'm asking you, when you deliberate, that you deliberate in a way that you consider each other's position, but you deliberate in this case seriously. Because every night, tomorrow night, Friday night, Dateline comes on, 2020 comes on Sunday. There's always a person who's been there. That this criminal case that they had, they've been in jail for 20 years, and all of a sudden they realize, maybe that person lied, or maybe there's some DNA that exists, or maybe something else. Okay? There's nobody that's going to come back and fix this if you are wrong. This is not Walmart. That's why you guys have the most important role in the courtroom. More important than Judge Hodger, more important than anyone else. Please do not let the fact that there's a camera here, that there's some outside interest in this case, influence what you do. Because in this world, it is so easy, so often, that we go and do what everybody else says to do. We don't stand up as an individual and say, hey, I don't disagree, I don't agree with you. Everybody else, because if everybody else says Mr. Bishop is a cult, if everybody else says he's a wacko, he must be crazy. So as a result, we must find him guilty. Society wants us to find him guilty. We're just going to do their job for them. Please don't do that. He's already explained what rape means. That's what the judge is going to explain. Carnal knowledge, female forcefully against her will. Against her will means without her consent. 2022 to 2024, she's given the exact same description every single time, that they made love. There's two ends of a continuum. There is love making at one end of the continuum, and way down on the other end of the world. And the Bible says, it says, as far as the east is from the west, that our sins are forgiven, is what the Bible says. And I would say that this is extremely far. The east is from the west. I can't imagine how far that is. But love making to rape, they're not on the same line. But she described love making from 2022 to 2024. It's not until she came here in court that she said that he raped. He did not rape her. He's not guilty of that. He did not falsely imprison her. I'm asking you to find him not guilty of that. He did not post revenge porn. I'm asking you to find him not guilty of that. I'm asking that his beliefs not be on trial. I believe in a holy God. Mr. Bishop is not God. God created the heaven and the earth that we're here right now. He ain't got nothing. Mr. Bishop has nothing to do with that. Now, their beliefs that we're all God, that's all unbelief. That's not what's on trial. What's on trial is whether on March 24, 2022, whether he raped this lady or not. And I'm asking you, as you go in the back and as you consider each other, that you consider that. Now, you guys are probably, you're very bright people. I know you're tired of listening. I'm going to sit down. Mr. Bishop's not over there. Why is he not over there? Well, 2 days ago, we came here and the court had tested positive for COVID. Mr. Bishop was concerned about his well-being and about getting COVID. And so he elected to not be present here in court because he was concerned about getting COVID. We are all segments, different sections of the population. You guys are sitting here with this plexiglass between you. I don't know if that stops you from getting COVID. I just know a few years ago, millions of people were dying as a result, and he is not here as a result of that. So I'm asking you not to hold that against him. I'm asking you to decide this case based on the evidence that you have before you in this case. He said that she was bullied into sex, yet there's no evidence of that. That he was in a scenario where he intimidated her. She has never said a single word about being bullied into sex, about being intimidated into sex. There's been no witnesses that came forward and said that. Please, as you consider the evidence, please balance all those things. I say this and I'm going to go sit down. As an attorney, it's extraordinarily difficult to get up and argue in front of people, especially me. I'm an introvert. If it wasn't for the fact of me being here in this courtroom, you would never see me because I'm the kind of person who goes into a room who doesn't want to. But I have to get up here and argue a case in front of people that I have no idea what you're thinking. I have no idea what you're feeling. But I owe an obligation to EligioBiship. I owe an obligation to the court to get up and argue a case. And it makes it really challenging to go sit down because I know once I sit down, I never get to say anything else to you. But I want to tell you on behalf of Mr. Bishop, on behalf of myself, I appreciate every bit of opportunity it is to practice in front of you here. I enjoy what I do as a practitioner, but I appreciate the opportunity that I've had to practice in front of you guys. I appreciate the consideration in the case. And I ask that when you go in the back and that you consider this case, that you return a verdict of not guilty on behalf of each and every count. Be from Missouri, be from the Southern State. I'm not a woman. I don't know how it feels to be in a position where you would be raped. I could never understand that. But what I do understand here is that you are given a responsibility and a role here in DeKalb County. And your role is to stand here as a citizen of DeKalb County and determine whether or not the state has proven this case beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. Is there a reasonable doubt today in your mind that Mr. EligioBishop is not guilty of rape? Has the state proven that beyond a reasonable doubt? And that's when you go in the back and you decide who's going to be the foreperson, for a woman, for a man, whatever it may be. That you, whatever your position is, that you still.
Hey yo, if you enjoy this content, please support the channel at. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms, especially Rumble, because I can put content on there that I can't put on YouTube. So please support that. I will put my beacon link in the description box. That way you can follow me on all social media, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. You can follow me wherever. Please support the movement. CV Killer forever.